Welcome to Thoughtful Thursday. This week we're going to be talking about the differences between rent-to-rent and a lease option agreement. If you haven't checked it out already, Samuel is over in New York, in America, and he's attempting to become financially free and buy a house within a week. That's pretty exciting. So, I'm joined by Dave today. Hello. The reason that we got Dave on the show is because he works for us, member of our team, so he's around property all the time, and in the last 2 weeks, he's secured a lease option agreement and a rent-to-rent. So, great to have you on the show, Dave.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, man. So, first of all, how would you describe what a rent-to-rent is?
Exactly what it says on the tin. A lot of people complicate it, but basically you're renting a property, some real estate, a house, off a landlord, and you pay them a specific fixed fee. And in return, you essentially rent it out to clients, to professional clients, to business people, to the corporate market, to people who want to come along for holiday time. That's essentially what it is, really. So you obviously work out your occupancy rates from there.
See, I always think to a degree, the term rent-to-rent is a little bit misleading as a name, because typically, if you're renting a house off a landlord, which is what you're doing here. Typically you live in it, right, and you rent it off them to live in. With a rent-to-rent, obviously you're renting it off them in order to rent it out to other people, to somebody else. However, you're not really renting it off them, because then that would make it that would be like subletting, for example. So really, what you're doing is you're managing the property.
That's essentially what it is, So it's managing for, in this case, 5 years for me. So I get all the managerial rights, but I totally agree with what you just said there. So you're not really...
It's not really rent to rent.
Not really rent, in that,
it is rent. I understand why it's called that, but because a lot of people, because of that, get confused with subletting, and they're like, well, is it not just subletting? It's like, well, no. It would be if you did actually rent to rent. You rented it with an AST contract, and then you rented it out.
Then it'd be subletting.
But so it's kind of a cross. I don't know. Do you know?
It's like a mixture of the two, isn't it?
Yeah,
for sure.
It's like management. Are you a letting agency? It's kind of somewhere.
And the great thing about it is you get the management of somebody else's property, so you've not got to put like 25% in, for example, on the mortgage. So it could be a £250,000 house, for example. And then all of a sudden you've gone through the contracts, and then all of a sudden you're in charge of that, and you're managing it for 5 years. And like you say, you've got a lot of influx of different people coming in, which is great because it's a win-win situation. They get a guaranteed fixed
rent to rent. It's very much like it's a business, isn't it? You're not really property investing. You're running it as a business.
Essentially, that's right.
And a lot of businesses now. So, for example, Airbnb. They don't own any houses.
No.
So they're like kind of like a hotel firm. They're making all this money, but they don't own the house. Uber don't own any cars.
That's exactly right.
They're just using other people's. So in essence, that's what you're doing. You're just becoming the middleman. You're marrying up someone's house with someone else that wants to either, you can either do it as a HMO or service accommodation, whatever you're doing, but you're just being the middleman, really, so you don't have to own anything.
It's a great way of putting it.
But you're making a fair bit of money out of it, which is kind of the way it's going a lot of the time.
It's really good. It's been such a tremendous year, and things move really, really quickly when you start getting involved in investing in property. What are we, March already? And all of a sudden I'm looking at 2 deals that I've completed on. We're looking at 2 more going through. We set up 2 businesses. One's with joint ventures. One's on my own, my wife. Awesome, so things are great. So really pleased.
Would you describe rent to rent? Would you describe it as a win-win?
It definitely is a win-win. I mean,
so why is it a win for the owner of the house? Because a lot of people say to me, well, if you're going to make money out of it, why don't they just do that? Why are you profiting from their house? So why, in your opinion, why is it a win for the landlord?
Well, I think not everyone has the same mindset, right? That's how humans operate. Certain landlords, especially my scenario, they're really tired. They really are. We hear this all the time. I'll just find a tired landlord, but there are so many people out there for whatever reasons. There's exponential amount of reasons. It could be family, it could be travel. There's loads of stuff going on. In this case, he's already a property investor.
You don't strike me as tired.
So no, I'm not tired. What I mean is the landlord's tired.
You've got a lot of energy.
So I've got a lot of energy, and that's why I think I've managed to secure this deal. Because they're like, hang on a minute, this guy's got bags and bags of energy. He's on it. He wants to get involved. He wants to help me. I'm in a position where actually I need to step away from this property for the reasons I've just said. I'm a tired landlord. So it works. It's a natural relationship in that sense. So business-wise, it's always going to work.
I think it is. I think it's
always going to work.
For you, it's okay. For the person that's doing the deal, or the property entrepreneur, whatever you want to call them, you in this case, it's definitely a win because you're not having to put hardly any. How much money you just put down your deal?
Do you know what? It's about £1,000.
About £1,000. So you put in £1,000
hardly
down,
anything in property.
And you're making how much a month?
On the rent to rent, we're looking at around about minimum 850 PCM to around about 1125 per calendar month.
So it's about 1,000%.
About £1,000 a month. Yeah.
It's
not ridiculous.
It's not bad.
So I make my whole grand back
in the first month.
Pretty
much, yeah, that's cool. Right, so for you, it's obviously a win, but from their point of view, it's a win as well because if they didn't have you, what they would do is they just rent it to someone else. But with you, they're going to have no voids.
Yeah.
They've got a long-term contract.
Yeah.
They're not paying a management fee.
Guaranteed rent.
They've got guaranteed rent. They've got you look after the basic maintenance.
Yeah.
So there's so many pros. So I think rent to rent is brilliant.
I love it.
Great strategy. All right. So moving on, because some people get these a little bit confused. Lease options.
Totally different situation.
Yeah.
In the sense that, I mean, the one thing that they have got in common is the tied landlord. So you can get a lease option agreement off somebody who's in a position again who doesn't really want to continue managing the property, looking after the property, possibly giving it a facelift or a refurbishment. So in that sense, actually they're quite similar. But where they're different in terms of properties is that now it's a lease option agreement. So I've got an option. It's not an obligation, but it's an option to be able to purchase that house after a 5-year lease, which is what I've agreed on my lease option agreement.
Yeah.
So basically, breaking that down, it means that I still manage the house for 5 years, and at the end of it, I've got an option to buy. I don't have to, which is why it's called a lease option agreement.
So essentially, it's like having a rent to rent, apart from that you've got an option to buy it at the end.
Correct. Yeah, so that's a really good way of being able to work out the two differences between the two.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of people phoning me up and saying what are the fundamental differences. The actual benefits are really, really similar. A lot of people say it's harder to get a lease option agreement. Not if you, again, find some people that are wanting to give their properties away because they're tired. And a lot of people say to me, it's impossible for someone just to say, I've got a property, have my property. But they're looking at it, it's the wrong mindset.
Yeah.
The mindset they need is everybody who lives needs to live somewhere. So houses are 10 a penny. They're all over the place. We're taking up Greenbelt all the time up and down this United Kingdom and all across the world doing it. So we're never short of houses.
Well, I was reading actually that they're thinking of building 15 new towns in the Greenbelt, kind of around London.
That's what I'm saying.
Just to add extra houses.
So the periphery of London, 15. I mean, you know, how many more people is that going to occupy? Meaning how many?
20,000.
There you go. Per so if there's 20,000 people, then there's going to be
more than that.
Essentially.
No, so quite a lot of people.
Yeah, but my point is there's going to be a lot of people managing, a lot of landlords. There's going to be a lot of contractual agreements going through back and forth. Who does that? Who gets involved with that? And what about the longevity of that? And that's why I think the rent-to-rent situation, obviously being so popular at the moment, and again, lease option agreements. And I tend to look at them, I'd never really look at them as one's harder than the other, because again, that's the wrong mindset. Because if you start looking at, oh, I want a deal and that's really hard and this is a bit harder, so I'm going to go that way, then you pigeonhole your mindset into specifically going for one strategy.
Do you see what I like about lease options?
Go on.
In many ways, lease options isn't... I think I just split your coffee, so sorry about that.
That's cool.
In many ways, lease options isn't even a strategy. No. In many ways. Because
I agree with that.
Let's say your strategies were HMOs or service accommodation or whatever your strategy is, you can apply a lease option to it if you put yourself in the game, if you're aware of it.
Yeah.
So if you know when you're going to look at houses, if you ask the right questions,
for sure,
and you're not going in there thinking, I want a lease option. You're thinking, I want to buy this house as a HMO, but you're aware of the option that you've got in your mind to turn it into a lease option. You know, it can be very, very powerful. And again, even with like a rent, let's say your strategy was rent to rent, you could turn a rent to rent into a lease option.
Yeah, and have a rent to rent on a lease option.
I think Alistair did this. He got a lease option in Wolverhampton.
He did.
He agreed it as a rent to rent, and he just said to the guy, he said, "So what's your plan with this down the line then?"
Yeah.
And the guy was like, "Well, after about 5 years, I'm probably planning on selling it."
Yeah.
And he was like,
"Boom,
ding dong,"
because he asked the right questions.
Yeah.
And if you go with the right questions, then you'll be able to then solve a pain. So property investing is about solving someone's pain.
I like that.
It really is.
Would you say everything is?
Yeah.
A business is about solving someone's pain.
It is.
If you are always aware of the option of turning whatever deal you've got into a lease option. You don't necessarily have to go chasing lease options.
No.
It's just be aware, know how it works.
Totally agree.
Understand the rules, understand the pros. It's like sales, isn't it? I mean,
it is, yeah.
And you're identifying the problem,
yeah,
and then you're solving the problem.
And you're marrying a problem with a solution.
And
you're basically saying, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. I think it's so essential for people. The amount of phone calls that I have per week. If I'm going to do 3 lease options this week, what do I need to do? That's the wrong way of looking at it. What you need to do is you need to find 3 people in a situation where you can add loads of value. Add value, ask them their scenario, dig down to the credentials, the specifics, why you're even there in the house, why have they even agreed to let you into their front door in the first place, have a professional business conversation with them, tell them how you can help them, and in return, they can help you.
Yeah.
And that is perfect business in property.
Which is why Alistair keeps finding lease options. The reason is because he is running a deal sourcing business.
Yeah.
So he's continually putting himself in the game.
Yeah, so he's there, he's present.
In the right environment, he knows what he's looking for, but he's in the right environment, he's making offers, he's doing viewings, he's meeting landlords, he's meeting estate agents, and he's just asking the right questions.
Absolutely.
So I would say the biggest takeaway is be aware of it, get yourself educated so you know what you're doing, and then just get out there, take some action, put yourself in the right place at the right time, which will happen. Everything's meant to be. You're there, you're where you are for a reason. You're watching this video for a reason. People are watching this video
it all comes down to education,
so yeah, I would say that kind of pretty much sums it up. Well, Dave, I really appreciate you coming on the show. So I hope you guys found that useful. Thanks ever so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure you tune in next Thursday for another Thoughtful Thursday. Take care, guys.